Hey, gossip fan, and welcome back to COCO Gossip, your number one source for the deepest dives into the drama you can't get enough of. If you're ready for a story of epic revenge, quiet power, and a takedown so complete it will leave you speechless, then you are in the right place. Today, we are unpacking the story that our inside sources have been piecing together for months. This isn't just a theory, this is a narrative built from legal whispers, financial breadcrumbs, and off-the-record conversations with people who are tired of the official story. We're talking about Meri's B&B, Lizzie's Heritage Inn, and the bombshell lawsuit that was designed to gut her and rob her of her legacy. So, grab your tea, get comfortable, and prepare for a masterclass in vindication. And hey, before we dive into the juicy details, if you love seeing the sister wives finally get their power back, do me a favor and smash that like button. It tells YouTube you want more stories just like this. And if you're not already part of the family, hit subscribe and ring that notification bell because you are not going to want to miss a single update on this saga. All right, let's get into it. To understand the sheer audacity of this lawsuit, we have to rewind, not just to a few months ago when the papers were filed, but all the way back to 2017. The Brown family had just been booted from Las Vegas, their cul-de-sac dreams were shattered, and they were spiraling into the chaos that would become the Coyote Pass nightmare in Flagstaff. Remember the context. The family's finances were, to put it mildly, a dumpster fire. They had just purchased a massive, undeveloped parcel of land for $820,000 that they had no immediate plan or funds to build on. They were juggling multiple expensive rentals, and the tension was at an all-time high. It was in this chaotic environment that Meri saw an opportunity, a chance to reclaim a piece of her own history. The house in Parowan, Utah, built by her great-great-grandparents, came up for sale. For Meri, this wasn't just real estate, it was her soul. It was a tangible connection to her roots, to a time before the fah-mly, before the drama, before the catfishing scandal that Kody would use as a cudgel against her for the next decade. We all saw it play out on the show. Meri, genuinely passionate and excited for the first time in years, presents this idea to Kody and the other wives. She needs a down payment. She asks the family for help, framing it as a potential family business, a joint investment. And what was Kody's reaction? Disdain, dismissal, utter contempt. Kody said, "This is a little, tiny, small stakes, bad business decision. We're so far in debt with the Vegas houses. We are not buying another property." He didn't just say no, he actively mocked her. He treated her like a child asking for a new toy. He framed her dream as a frivolous, emotional purchase that would drag the family down. The irony, of course, is that he was simultaneously sinking them into the Coyote Pass money pit, a project that has, to this day, produced nothing but tumbleweeds and resentment. Meri, to her credit, didn't back down. She scraped together her own money from her LuLaRoe business to make the down payment. But she was still short for the full purchase price. After immense pressure and likely a strategic intervention from Janelle, who probably saw it as a way to diversify their assets, Kody and the family agreed. They loaned her $40,000 from the family pot, the joint account they all paid into. This loan, this single transaction, is the poison seed from which this entire venomous lawsuit grew. In Kody and Robyn's minds, that $40,000 wasn't a loan. It was a controlling share. It was their permanent ticket to her success, their leverage, their way of ensuring she could never truly be independent. Now, let's fast forward to the present day. Or, at least, the present day, right before this legal firestorm erupted. According to our sources, people who have seen the financial strain on the Browns firsthand, the situation at Coyote Pass has gone from bad to critical. The property taxes in Arizona are no joke. The infrastructure costs to even think about building, running water, electricity, sewage are astronomical. The family is fractured. Christine is gone and thriving in Utah. Janelle is living in an RV or with her kids, refusing to pour another dime into Robyn's 5-bedroom mansion. The TLC money isn't what it used to be, and Kody and Robyn's lifestyle, with their expensive hobbies, endless clutter from my sister wife's closet, and the mortgage on their multi-million-dollar property, is simply unsustainable. Our insiders paint a picture of desperation. Kody and Robyn sitting at that famous kitchen island, surrounded by porcelain dolls and endless bills, are in a panic. The family pot once funded by 4 wives, is now primarily funded by 2, and one of them, Meri, has been emotionally and financially checked out for years, contributing her contractually obligated share and not a penny more. This is where the plan was hatched. It was, according to what we've been told, Robyn's idea, whispered to Kody during a late-night panic session about their dwindling funds. The logic, twisted as it is, goes something like this. Lizzie's Heritage Inn is a success. It's a profitable running business. It's an appreciating asset. It's the only truly successful and unencumbered asset the Brown family is connected to. Meri runs it, but their money helped start it. That $40,000. In Robyn's world, that money wasn't just a loan. It was an investment from the fah-mly. And since she is the self-appointed guardian of the family's legacy, specifically the legacy for her 5 children, she saw it as her duty to claim what she believed was rightfully theirs. A source close to the situation put it to us this way, and I quote, "Robyn convinced Kody that Meri had used family money to build a private empire and that it was fundamentally unfair to her children who would see no benefit from it. She framed it as a crusade for family justice." A crusade for family justice, let that sink in. So, they made their move, not by talking to Meri, not by asking for a return on their investment, but by going straight for the jugular. They hired a lawyer, a particularly aggressive one, we hear, and they filed a legal claim in the state of Utah, demanding a stunning 50% ownership stake in Lizzie's Heritage Inn, LLC. The legal argument was twofold. First, they argued that the $40,000 loan, made without a formal repayment contract, constituted a capital investment in a joint venture. Second, they claimed a breach of verbal contract, alleging that during the initial discussions, Meri had promised the B&B would be a family legacy property for everyone to share in. When the news broke, the Sister Wives fan community went into meltdown. It was the ultimate betrayal. After years of emotional neglect, after publicly shunning her, after making it clear he wanted nothing to do with her, Kody was now clawing for half of her hard-earned success. It was a move so brazen, so transparently greedy, that it left everyone breathless. But what no one knew, what Kody and Robyn in their arrogant desperation could never have conceived, was that Meri was ready. She hadn't just been waiting for this, she had been counting on it. The courtroom in Parowan, Utah, was small and unassuming. Fluorescent lights hummed overhead, casting a sterile glow on the polished wood of the judge's bench. This wasn't a high-profile celebrity trial, it was a civil matter. But for fans of the show, it was the Super Bowl. Our courtroom correspondent described the scene. Kody arrived dressed in what he clearly thought was his serious businessman attire. A slightly too tight sports coat, designer jeans, and that signature air of belligerent confidence. He was trying to project power, the patriarch reclaiming his domain. Robyn was, predictably, the picture of a wronged, delicate victim. She wore a modest, dark-colored blouse, her hair perfectly curled. She clutched a tissue in her hand from the moment she sat down, occasionally dabbing at her dry eyes, her brow furrowed with performative worry. And then there was Meri. She walked in with her lawyer, wearing a simple but impeccably tailored navy blue suit. Her hair was neat, her makeup minimal. She wasn't smiling, but she wasn't frowning either. She was a placid lake, still, calm, and hiding unknown depths. She carried a single thin leather portfolio and took her seat without a single glance at Kody or Robyn. The proceedings began, and Kody and Robyn's lawyer, a man named Mr. Davies, laid out their case with theatrical flair. He painted a picture of a loving communal family who had pooled their resources to support a wife's dream, only to be shut out once that dream became profitable. He used phrases like communal property, shared risk, and the spirit of the family. It was a compelling narrative if you knew nothing about the last 10 years of the show. Then Kody Brown was called to the stand. This was the moment he had been waiting for, a stage, an audience, and a chance to perform his favorite role, the burdened, benevolent leader. Mr. Davies began the direct examination. Mr. Davies said, "Mr. Brown, could you please describe to the court the circumstances under which the Brown family partnership provided the funds for the defendant, Ms. Brown, to purchase the property now known as Lizzie's Heritage Inn?" Kody leaned into the microphone, a pained expression on his face. Kody said, "Well, you have to understand our family structure. We're We were a plural family, a team. Everything we did for the good of the whole. Like when Meri came to us with this idea, this dream of hers to buy this old house, my first instinct was to protect the family. We were in a precarious financial situation. We had just uprooted our entire lives. He paused, shaking his head as if recalling a great trauma. Kody. But she was so emotional about it. It was her family's home. So, against my better business judgment, I put the family first. I rallied the family, we assumed all the risk. We took $40,000, a huge sum for us at the time, from our family account, money that was meant for our children's futures, for our homes, and we gave it to Meri. We invested in her. He was good. You have to give him that. He was wearing a tale of self-sacrifice and patriarchal duty. He made it sound like he had personally handed over his life savings out of the goodness of his heart, not like it was a loan from a joint account that Meri also paid into. Mr. Davies. And what was your understanding of what this investment would mean for the family? Kody. It was always meant to be a family legacy property. A place for our kids, all our kids, to come together. A business that would support the entire family in our old age. It was never ever supposed to be Meri's B&B. It was supposed to be the Brown family B&B. She sold us on a communal dream, a piece of our heritage. We were partners. He sat back looking satisfied. He had landed his key points. He took the risk. It was a partnership, and it was always for the family. In his mind, he had just won the case. The air in the courtroom was thick with his self-congratulation. Meri remained perfectly still, her eyes fixed on her lawyer, a man named Benjamin Carter. Mr. Carter was the opposite of Kody. He was older, with graying hair, and exuded an aura of quiet, methodical intelligence. He let Kody's words hang in the air for a moment before he rose to his feet. Mr. Carter. Mr. Brown, thank you for your testimony. I just have a few questions to clarify some of your points. His voice was calm, almost gentle. Kody puffed out his chest, ready for a fight. Mr. Carter. You stated that the family assumed all the risk, is that correct? Kody. Absolutely. It was our capital on the line. Mr. Carter. But Ms. Brown provided the initial down payment herself from her own earnings, did she not? Kody hesitated, his brow furrowing. Kody. Well, yes, but the bulk of the funding, the $40,000, that was the family. Mr. Carter. So the risk was, in fact, shared. Ms. Brown had her own skin in the game, so to speak. Now, you mentioned this was a bad business decision on your part. Can you tell me, Mr. Brown, how many hours of your own labor did you contribute to the extensive renovations required to get the inn operational? Silence. Kody's smug look began to falter. Kody. I was busy managing the family, the move to Flagstaff. I'm the CEO of our family corporation. My time was spent on macro issues. Mr. Carter. So, 0 hours of physical labor. Is that correct? Just to be clear for the court. Kody's jaw tightened. Yes. Mr. Carter. And how about the business side? Did you help develop the business plan, the marketing strategy? Did you set up the booking website, manage the payroll, or hire the staff? Kody. That was Meri's role. I was the investor, the visionary. A few stifled snickers could be heard from the public gallery. The visionary who had actively tried to kill the vision. Mr. Carter. I see. A visionary, so your entire contribution to this now thriving business, aside from your verbal discouragement, which we've all seen on national television, was your role in approving a $40,000 loan from a joint account. A loan, is that an accurate summary? The word loan was dropped like a stone into a quiet pond. Kody bristled. Kody. It was not a loan. It was an investment. A capital contribution. We were partners. He was shouting now. The calm facade was cracking. The judge looked at him over his spectacles, a silent warning to lower his voice. Mr. Carter. A partnership is an interesting choice of words, Mr. Brown. In most partnerships, partners share in the work, the decision-making, and the ongoing responsibilities. Would you say your involvement reflects that of a 50% partner? Kody: I am the patriarch. My approval, my capital, that is the partnership. Meri would have nothing without the family's money. He was unraveling. Mr. Carter had expertly exposed the truth. Kody had contributed nothing but begrudgingly approved funds, and now he wanted half the reward for all of Meri's work, risk, and dedication. Mr. Carter paused, letting Kody's outburst echo in the silent courtroom. He took a slow walk back to his table, picked up a single sheet of paper from a folder, and walked back towards the witness stand. Mr. Carter: Mr. Brown, I want to talk more about this $40,000 investment. In a typical business investment, one would expect regular reports, profit and loss statements, and a share of the profits distributed periodically. Have you ever received a dividend check from Lizzie's Heritage Inn? Kody: No, that's why we are here. She's been hoarding the profits. Mr. Carter: Hoarding them. For how many years has the inn been operational and, in your opinion, profitable? Kody: For years, at least since 2018, 2019. It's been a huge success. She's been on her own, traveling, living it up, while we've been struggling to get by on Coyote Pass. And there it was, the real motivation. The jealousy, the resentment. It wasn't about a family legacy. It was about Kody and Robyn seeing Meri's financial freedom as a personal insult while they were mired in their own bad decisions. Mr. Carter: So for all those years, from 2019 until you filed this lawsuit, you believed you were a 50% owner and she was hoarding your rightful profits. Is that your testimony? Kody: Yes, absolutely. Mr. Carter: And in all that time, you never once sent a formal letter demanding your share. You never once had your lawyer contact her. You just waited several years and then filed a lawsuit to seize half the company? Kody looked flustered. The logic didn't quite hold up. Kody: We were trying to be patient. We were hoping she would do the right thing for the family. Mr. Carter gave a slight, almost imperceptible nod. He had him. He had established Kody's narrative completely. He had given him all the rope he needed. Mr. Carter: No further questions for this witness, Your Honor. Kody stormed back to his seat, fuming. He shot a venomous glare at Meri, who didn't even flinch. She just gave her lawyer a small, knowing look. Robyn reached over and patted Kody's arm, whispering something to him, her own face now a mask of genuine panic. The first part of their ambush had been a complete disaster. Kody's testimony had made him look like a lazy, entitled, and greedy bully, but they had an ace in the hole. Or so they thought. Their next witness was their most powerful weapon, Robyn and her tears. The plan, as we understand it, was for Robyn to take the stand and do what she does best: cry. She would talk about the children, the family legacy, and how Meri's selfishness was tearing apart the beautiful tapestry of the Brown family dream. She would be the emotional core of their argument, the soft, sympathetic voice to counter Kody's harsh, arrogant one. As the court prepared to take a short recess, Robyn was already getting into character, her eyes welling up as she looked towards the judge with a pleading expression. Kody and Robyn believed that her testimony would undo the damage Kody had done. They thought they could still win the hearts and minds of the court. They were about to learn that in a court of law, crocodile tears are no match for cold, hard proof. And Meri Brown had the coldest, hardest proof imaginable, tucked away safely in that unassuming leather portfolio. The storm was just beginning. Kody's disastrous testimony was only the beginning. Next time on COCO Gossip, Robyn takes the stand. The waterworks begin as she weaves a tragic tale of broken promises and dreams deferred for her innocent children. We'll break down her entire performance piece by piece. And then, the moment you've been waiting for. Meri's lawyer unleashes the ambush nobody, least of all Kody and Robyn, saw coming. The single piece of paper that will not only end the lawsuit but will expose their entire claim as a malicious, vindictive lie. We saw a desperate Kody and Robyn mired in the financial black hole of Coyote Pass, hatch a greedy plan to seize 50% of Meri's successful business. We watched Kody take the stand, puffing out his chest and spinning a tale of his own patriarchal sacrifice, only to be expertly dismantled by Meri's lawyer, who exposed him as nothing more than a begrudging, absentee visionary who contributed nothing and resented everything about Meri's success. Kody left the stand humiliated, his narrative in tatters. But Kody and Robyn had one more card to play, their Queen of Hearts, their master of manipulation, their ultimate emotional weapon. It was now time for Robyn Sullivan Brown to take the stand. The strategy was clear. Where Kody had failed with arrogant bluster, Robyn would succeed with tears and vulnerability. She was going to sell the story of a broken family dream, a legacy stolen from her innocent children. She was about to deliver the performance of a lifetime. What she didn't know was that the curtains were about to come down on her and the entire Brown family circus in the most spectacular way imaginable. If you thought Kody's testimony was a train wreck, buckle up, because you are about to witness a full-scale derailment. After a brief recess, the court resumed. Kody was stewing in his seat, his face a thundercloud. Robyn, however, had undergone a transformation. She glided to the witness stand, her movements slow and deliberate. She sat down, carefully adjusted the microphone, and gave the judge a look of such profound, watery-eyed sadness that you'd think she was at a parole hearing for a beloved family member. The tissue was back in her hand, and she clutched it like a rosary. Her lawyer, Mr. Davies, approached her with a gentle, almost paternal air. The show was about to begin. Mr. Davies: Mrs. Brown, I know this is difficult for you. Could you please tell the court, in your own words, what your understanding was when the family decided to provide the funds for the bed and breakfast? Robyn took a shaky breath, dabbing the corner of her eye with the tissue. Robyn: From the very beginning, it was always about the fah-mly. You have to understand our culture. We were this one big unit. When Meri brought this idea to us, it was so exciting. We were sitting there and we saw this beautiful picture, a place where all of our children, all 18 of them, could come home to, a legacy, something that would hold us all together forever. Notice the language. Our culture. Fah-mly. Legacy. These are her keywords, the foundation of the fantasy she's been selling for over a decade. She wasn't just answering a legal question, she was performing an episode of the show. Mr. Davies: So it was never your understanding that this was simply a personal business for Meri Brown? Robyn: Oh, heavens no, never. It was presented as a joint effort. We all sacrificed for it. We took money that was meant for land payments for our kids' college funds, and we poured it into this dream because we believed it was a dream for all of us. Meri promised us. She promised it would be a family business. This is a key part of their legal argument, the breach of verbal contract. They are alleging a specific promise was made, a promise none of us ever saw on camera, of course. This is where the insider theory part comes in. They are essentially inventing a private meeting to suit their narrative. Mr. Davies: And what has happened to that dream, Mrs. Brown? The floodgates opened. Real tears, or an incredibly convincing facsimile, began to stream down Robyn's face. Her voice cracked with emotion. Robyn: It disappeared. As soon as the B&B became successful, Meri just locked us out. It became hers. She never talks to us about it. She never shares the profits. My children, my sweet children, they ask me, Mom, when can we go stay at the family B&B? And I have to tell them, I don't know, honey. It's like this beautiful piece of our family heritage is on the other side of a glass wall, and we're not allowed to touch it. She's taken our legacy and she's made it her own private clubhouse. It's just not fair. It was a masterful performance. She brought her kids into it, framing them as the ultimate victims. She painted Meri not just as a savvy businesswoman, but as a cruel aunt who was deliberately withholding a family treasure from innocent children. In Robyn's telling, Meri wasn't just breaking a business deal, she was breaking the sacred covenant of the fah-mly. She went on, talking about the big picture, how she always saw the big picture for the family, and how Meri's independent streak was selfishly destroying that picture. She even claimed that profits from the B&B were supposed to help fund the development of Coyote Pass, a claim so ludicrous it was almost laughable. Mr. Davies concluded his direct examination. Robyn had done her job. She had presented a powerful, emotional narrative that stood in stark contrast to Kody's angry, entitled ranting. She had made them look like the victims. The courtroom was silent, captivated by her display of sorrow. But then, Meri's lawyer, Mr. Carter, rose to his feet. He had let her spin her web. Now it was time to pull the threads. Mr. Carter. Mrs. Brown, that was very moving testimony. I just have a few questions to clarify the details of this family business culture you've described. His tone was respectful, calm. He wasn't going to attack the crying woman. He was going to surgically dissect her story with facts. Mr. Carter, you mentioned the family pot, the joint account from which the $40,000 came. Is it true that for over a decade, Meri Brown has been a consistent financial contributor to that account, just as you and the other wives have? Robyn, well, yes, we all contribute what we're supposed to. Mr. Carter, so, in essence, Ms. Brown contributed to the very fund from which she was loaned money. Is that correct? Robyn hesitated. I suppose. Mr. Carter, now let's talk about another family business. A business you started, Mrs. Brown. My sister wife's closet. Is that familiar to you? Oh, yes. He went there. You could feel the temperature in the room drop. Kody stiffened in his seat. This was the one subject they never wanted discussed in a legal setting. Robyn, that was a different situation. Mr. Carter, was it? It was a business venture, was it not? One designed to be a family business? Robyn, yes, but, Mr. Carter, and it was funded, at least in part, by family money, was it not? From that same family pot? Robyn looked like a deer in headlights. She looked over at Kody, who was staring daggers at Mr. Carter. Robyn, it was a family investment. Mr. Carter, indeed. Now, Mrs. Brown, can you tell the court how much profit my sister wife's closet generated and distributed back into the family pot for the benefit of all 18 children? Boom! The checkmate question. The silence in the courtroom was deafening. Everyone who had watched the show knew the answer. The business was a notorious failure. It had likely drained the family pot, not contributed to it. Robyn stammered, It was a startup. It had challenges. Mr. Carter, so the answer is 0? To be clear, did Meri Brown's child, Leon, ever receive a dividend check or any financial benefit from the operation of my sister wife's closet? Robyn, it wasn't about profits. It was about building something together. Mr. Carter, so when your family business fails after using family funds, it's about building something together. But when Meri's family business succeeds after using family funds, it's a theft of legacy that requires a lawsuit? Is that the family culture you're referring to? He had just exposed the staggering hypocrisy at the heart of their entire case. The courtroom was now buzzing with quiet murmurs. The judge tapped his gavel lightly. Robyn's face was flushed, her victim narrative completely shattered. She had been revealed not as a concerned mother, but as a failed businesswoman who is now trying to seize the profits of a successful one. Mr. Carter let that sink in before moving in for the final crucial point. Mr. Carter, just one last topic, Mrs. Brown. This $40,000 transaction, you've testified that you believe it was a capital investment for a 50% ownership stake. Is that correct? Robyn, now on the defensive, nodded meekly. Yes, it was for the fah-mly. Mr. Carter, and to your knowledge, has any portion of those $40,000, the principal investment, ever been returned to the Brown family account? Robyn, no, of course not. That's why we're here. She kept all the money. Mr. Carter, so you are testifying under oath that to this day the $40,000 principal has never been paid back? Robyn, never, not one dime. Mr. Carter, thank you, Mrs. Brown. No further questions. Robyn practically fled from the witness stand, her composure gone. The tears were real now, tears of humiliation and fury. She had walked right into the trap. Both she and Kody were now on the legal record under oath, stating that the $40,000 was an unpaid investment that entitled them to ownership. The prosecution rested its case. Mr. Davies looked shaken but tried to project confidence. In his mind, it was now Meri's turn to get on the stand and try to refute their claims. It would be her word against theirs. But Mr. Carter had other plans. He stood up, his voice echoing in the tense silence. Mr. Carter, Your Honor, the defense calls no witnesses at this time. A gasp went through the gallery. Kody and Robyn exchanged confused looks. What was happening? Mr. Carter, Instead, Your Honor, with the court's permission, the defense would like to present one item into evidence. We will mark it as Exhibit A. This was it, the moment. Mr. Carter walked calmly back to his table, opened the simple leather portfolio that had been sitting in front of Meri the entire time, and pulled out 2 documents. He handed one copy to the opposing counsel, Mr. Davies, and walked the original up to the clerk to be presented to the judge. Kody and Robyn watched, puzzled. Mr. Davies put on his reading glasses and looked down at the paper. Our correspondent in the courtroom described what happened next. Mr. Davies's face went white. He read the document, then reread it, his mouth falling slightly open. He looked up at Kody, his expression a mixture of disbelief and absolute fury. Kody just shrugged, having no idea what he was looking at. The judge examined the document, his own expression unreadable. He then looked to Mr. Carter. Counselor, please explain to the court the relevance of Exhibit A. The courtroom projector flickered to life, and there, for everyone to see, was an image of a cashier's check. Mr. Carter walked over to the screen, using a laser pointer. Mr. Carter, Your Honor, this is a copy of a cashier's check. As you can see, it is dated June 14th, 2019. It is made out to the Brown Family Partnership. The amount is for $42,500. He let the number hang in the air. And Mr. Carter, That's $40,000 in principal and an additional $2,500, which represents an interest rate of over 6% for the period the loan was outstanding. And if you look here on the memo line, it reads quite clearly, LHI Loan Repayment in Full. A tidal wave of shock rolled through the courtroom. You could hear audible gasps. Kody Brown shot up in his seat, his face a mask of utter confusion. Robyn stared at the screen, her mind clearly unable to process what she was seeing. Paid back with interest in 2019? But Mr. Carter wasn't done. He motioned for the next document to be displayed. Mr. Carter, and this, Your Honor, is the second part of Exhibit A. It is a loan satisfaction agreement drafted on the same day. I'd like to read a small portion of it for the record. He cleared his throat. Mr. Carter, this agreement, entered into on this 14th day of June 2019, by and between Meri Brown, the debtor, and the Brown Family Partnership, represented by its managing partner, Kody Brown, the creditor, hereby serves as acknowledgement of the following. The creditor acknowledges receipt of payment in the amount of $42,500, constituting payment in full for the loan of $40,000 provided in 2017. With this payment, the debt is considered satisfied in its entirety. The creditor hereby releases any and all claims, liens, or interests, expressed or implied, that it may have held in the property and business known as Lizzie's Heritage Inn, LLC. He paused, letting the legal finality of the words sink in. And then he delivered the kill shot. He used his laser pointer to highlight the bottom of the page. Mr. Carter, and as you can see, Your Honor, the agreement is signed here by Meri Brown, and it is also signed right here by the plaintiff, Mr. Kody Brown. The signature, as you can see, is notarized by a licensed notary public in the state of Arizona. Pandemonium. The courtroom erupted in shocked whispers. Kody Brown stared at the screen, his face drained of all color. It was his signature. He had signed it. He had legally acknowledged that the loan was paid in full, with interest, and had released all claims to the B&B years ago. Our source close to the family has a theory about how this happened. June 2019 was the height of the Flagstaff chaos. They were juggling multiple moves, filming, and Kody was in a constant state of frantic distraction. The theory is that Meri, in her quiet, methodical way, approached him during a moment of chaos, presented him with the check and the document, and said something like, "Here's that money for the B&B, Kody. Just sign this paper saying I paid it." And Kody, in his arrogance and dismissal of anything Meri did, likely didn't even read it. He saw the check, thought, "Good, family money," and scribbled his signature to get her out of his hair, completely forgetting about its moments later. He signed his own death warrant and never even knew it. Back in the courtroom, Kody was frantically whispering to his lawyer, who looked like he wanted the ground to swallow him whole. Robyn was now openly sobbing, but these were not her crocodile tears. These were real tears of utter, abject defeat. Their entire case, their claims of ownership, their sob stories of a stolen legacy, it was all built on a foundation of sand, and Meri had just opened the floodgates. The judge, who had remained silent throughout the reveal, finally spoke. His voice was cold as ice. "Judge, Mr. Davies, do you have an explanation for this?" Kody's lawyer, pale and sweating, stood up. Your Honor, my client seems to have forgotten this transaction." Judge: "Forgotten?" "Counselor, your clients, Mr. and Mrs. Brown, have both sat on that stand under oath and testified that this money was an unpaid investment that entitled them to 50% of a business. This document proves their testimony was, at best, a catastrophic failure of memory and, at worst, outright perjury. This court does not take kindly to being lied to." He turned his gaze directly on Kody and Robyn. It was a look of pure judicial fury. "Judge, you have wasted this court's time. You have abused the judicial process to harass a family member in what appears to be a malicious and vindictive attempt to seize an asset to which you have no legal right. You didn't just forget, you built a narrative of victimization to justify your greed, and you were willing to lie under oath to see it through." He wasn't just dismissing the case. He was eviscerating them. Every word was a hammer blow. "Judge, the plaintiff's claim is dismissed with extreme prejudice. This matter is over. Furthermore, pursuant to state statutes regarding frivolous litigation, I am ordering the plaintiffs, Kody and Robyn Brown, to pay for 100% of the defendant's legal fees and all associated court costs." A collective gasp. This was a massive financial penalty. Meri's legal defense wouldn't have been cheap. He was making them pay, literally, for their own scheme. But he still wasn't finished. "Judge, and to ensure that this court is never troubled by this matter again, I am issuing a permanent injunction. Mr. Brown, Mrs. Brown, and any entity or agent acting on your behalf are hereby legally restrained from ever making any future claim of ownership, interest, or entitlement to Lizzie's Heritage Inn, LLC, or any of Ms. Brown's associated business assets. This matter is closed permanently." He slammed his gavel down. The sound echoed like a gunshot in the silent room. It was a total, complete, and utter victory for Meri Brown. She hadn't just won. She had annihilated them. She hadn't just defended herself. She had used their own greed and lies to spring a trap that had been waiting for years. Throughout the judge's ruling, Meri sat perfectly still. But as the judge slammed the gavel, our correspondent saw her take one slow, deep breath. A breath she had probably been holding since 2019. A small, almost imperceptible smile touched the corner of her lips. It wasn't a smile of smugness. It was a smile of freedom, of vindication. The aftermath was a scene of chaos. Kody and Robyn practically fled the courthouse, shielding their faces as their lawyer tried to fend off questions. They looked broken, humiliated, and, for the first time in a long time, utterly powerless. Meri, on the other hand, walked out the front door with her head held high. She didn't say a word. She didn't have to. Her actions in that courtroom had spoken louder than a decade of her quiet suffering ever could. So, let's break down the genius of this. This wasn't just revenge. This was a masterclass in strategy. Meri could have told them she paid the loan back at any time. She could have waved the receipt in Kody's face the first time he complained about money. But she didn't. Why? Because she knew Kody. She knew his ego, his greed, and his tendency to rewrite history to fit his own narrative. She knew Robyn's talent for weaponizing victimhood. Our inside sources believe Meri suspected that one day, when they got desperate enough, they would come for her B&B. It was her only major success independent of the family, and their egos couldn't stand it. So she waited. She kept the notarized agreement locked away like a loaded weapon. She let them talk. She let them build their entire case. She let them lie under oath in a court of law. She let them publicly humiliate themselves and expose their greed to the world. She didn't just want to win the case. She wanted to make sure they could never, ever try something like this again. She wanted to salt the earth of their claim. Kody Brown has always played checkers, making loud, impulsive moves for short-term gain. But Meri Brown, the quiet first wife everyone wrote off, was playing chess. She saw the whole board, anticipated his moves years in advance, and maneuvered him into a checkmate so perfect, so absolute, he never even saw it coming. This lawsuit, which was designed to be the final nail in Meri's coffin, has instead become the cornerstone of her liberation. Kody and Robyn are now not only defeated, but they are also on the hook for tens of thousands of dollars in her legal fees, digging their Coyote Pass money pit even deeper, and they are legally barred from ever touching her success again. Meri is, for the first time, truly and completely free. So, I have to ask you, Gossip Fam, was this not the single most iconic, most satisfying power move in the history of sister wives? Was Meri's silent multi-year plan a stroke of strategic genius or a cold, calculated act of perfect revenge? Or maybe it was both. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I want to hear every single one of them. What do you think is going through Kody and Robyn's heads right now? And what does this mean for the future of the family? Thank you so much for joining me on this incredible deep dive. If you enjoyed this story of a queen getting her crown back, please smash that like button and share this video with a fellow Sister Wives fan. And if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to COCO Gossip and hit that notification bell, because the fallout from this courtroom catastrophe is a story that is just getting started. Until next time, stay gossipy.